I stared into the mirror in the pink-tiled bathroom. The middle child of 5, I wasn't the prettiest of my mother's daughters. The closer I leaned towards 14 years old, the more my face resembled a ransom note with features tattered, pasted crookedly on the tattered palette that was my face. In puberty, I could walk into a classroom with clear skin and walk out an hour later with a zit on my nose the size of a golf ball. One weekend, I rode my bike to the drugstore and discovered medicated makeup. At home, I tried it. It smelled like sulfur and left a ridge of orange along my jawline. Now I look like a pumpkin carved by a 5-year-old, and I smelled like a match. At school, I stared at the floor as I walked between classes. On a Saturday, soon after my purchase, my mother said, "Let's go to Tycha's department store and get you some makeup." I immediately took her up on it. A trip alone with my mother was rare. With 4 other kids, our outings were more like rowdy school field trips, with the kids battling fiercely for the best seat in the spot in the back of the yellow Ford Fairlane, which my mother treated like yet another one of her children. The car's exterior was dazzling, and soon my face would be too. An audience alone with my mother, sitting in the seat beside her as she drove down Northwest Highway in Dallas. I couldn't think of a thing to say. There was no ruckus, just her and me alone on a journey to fix my battered face. We passed Keller's hamburger joint and the Centennial liquor store. Where was the noise? Who won the seat in the back instead of having to sit on the hump in the middle? I couldn't think of a thing to say in the unforgivable quiet, so I closed my eyes and daydreamed of porcelain skin like Audrey Hepburn's. At Tycha's, I bent my head and followed my mother's sensible brown shoes until she stopped at the best counter in the store, the John Robert Powers brand. We sat on stools while my mother told the Audrey Hepburn lady that we needed to buy some foundation. Audrey picked up various bottles of liquid gold with her delicate fingers. She began to apply the elixir onto my face, one color here, another color there, like sample splotches from Home Depot. I was aware of my mother beside me, watching, quiet. We chose color number 48, and Audrey spread it over my skin and then held up a mirror. "That looks good, Joan," my mother said gently. My nose did seem smaller. The orange line was gone, and I no longer smelled like Pagosa Hot Springs. The image in the mirror was not beautiful, but I could look up at the world around me without shame. When we got home, I carried the bag to the bedroom that I shared with my pretty sister. I set the bottle on the dresser and made a plan. Each morning, before anyone could see me, I would carry the coveted bottle into the bathroom and transform my face. My mother had given me the gift of the power of makeup. It's not a feminist notion, I know, but as a teenager, it was what I needed to move forward into the world. Last year, pneumonia landed me squarely in the intensive care unit, and then in an ugly, cramped room of the hospital. After 2 sleepless nights of nurses appearing beside my side like ghosts, I began to feel better and longed to go home. As sick as I was, I had thrown my makeup in my backpack before I went to the emergency room. Sitting in a dirty gown in a hard vinyl chair of the hospital room, I carefully applied my foundation. I figured if the doctor saw me in my makeup, he would let me the hell out of there. He walked into the room. I quickly pinched my cheeks and smiled brightly. "You look so much better," he said. He gazed at me for what felt like a very long time. Then he ordered my discharge. I did feel better, but I will forever believe it was the makeup that led me back home. If this doctor could believe the glow of my skin, the blush of my cheeks, he'd believe anything. And he bought it, hook, line, and color number 42, beige luster. I was wheeled outside and breathed in the fresh air. At home, I savored simple things like the flavor of fresh brewed tea and sinking into my own couch, the portable oxygen humming. I believe my mother knows that life is about simple things, like a really good bottle of foundation, a ride shotgun in a yellow Ford Fairlane, and the taste of a well-brewed, perfectly sweetened glass of iced tea. She didn't expect accolades, and for that alone, I will never stop loving her. For the soundtrack to The Graduate, Paul Simon wrote about Mrs. Robinson, probably the worst mother ever to bear a child. I've altered his words to express the power of my mother's quiet acts of love. So here's to you, Elsie Muller. Your daughter loves you more than you will know. Hey, hey, hey. Thank you.